in 2002. And people listening, of course, Roy, will be going, come on, Mark, ask him about Saipan. What happened? What I would ask you is, because you could have played in 2 World Cups, you played in 1. Do you regret looking back on it, the way it all happened, and the fact that you had an opportunity to play in another World Cup, but for whatever reason you didn't?
I wouldn't say I have any regrets. Disappointed it happened, the way it panned out. And I know there's obviously 2 sides to every story. A lot of talk when we got over there about the facilities. That was well documented. I was disappointed. No bibs, no balls, no cones, which really irritated me, because I think if it happened to a country, if it happened to Brazil or Germany or England at the time, there would have been uproar. But for some reason, because it was Ireland, it was like, oh, well, it's kind of a laugh and a joke. So I'd had enough years of laughing and a joke, and I just felt at the time, so we've got to give ourselves the best opportunity. But strange enough, that was all taken care of later on into the week. Just actually, I think the night before we leave in Saipan, bit of a team meeting. I was confronted by the manager, and I stood up. I had to fight my corner, and I would do it again tomorrow. And I've always said that I've never lost a wink of sleep about how I kind of reacted to the accusations that were made against me. Would I love to play in the World Cup, another World Cup? Of course I would. That's what the game's all about. We spoke earlier about my memories of 1982 World Cup. Brilliant as a kid, you want to get involved, and then thank God I played in the 94 World Cup, and you get greedy and selfish. You want to play in another tournament. But it wasn't to be. But as I said, I don't kind of look back and regret any of my actions. I wish it hadn't happened, and I wish things had panned out better. But that's the way it goes.
But you were standing, so it wasn't anything to do with the balls or the cones or the bits?
No, far from it, because that was all taken care of. Yeah. That was literally a few days, that was sorted out 1 or 2 days before that. So as I said, it was what really made me angry and disappointed was, again, when you get accused of something by your manager in front of a group of players, you're going to react. And I reacted. As a senior player, as a captain, I just felt, no, these are lies. And
are you happy to say what it was that you were accused of?
Well, I was basically accused of faking an injury in a match and not being available for a match when I was injured. And it was really a strange time to bring it up. And it wasn't true. So, if you make them accusations against me, have a guess what's going to happen. Because one of the biggest problems in my career, I still look back, is I played far too many games. Like a lot of players, I'm no hero. I played when I was injured. So to have that thrown at me was really strange, and the timing of it in front of the group of players, let me tell you, you're going to get fireworks. And I would expect that from any player, particularly a senior player. So there you go.
So having made the decision you did, was there at any stage before you left Saipan, or maybe even once you'd got home, that bridges could have been rebuilt, that you could have gone back and played in the World
think
Cup?
If there was an apology, possibly, yeah. Possibly, but listen, as I said, it's all right me sitting here. Listen, if you spoke to Mick or some of the other staff, listen, they might have a different side to it. I know it takes 2 to tango, but that's what happened. And once I'd left the hotel, the team left early the next morning. The damage was done. And listen, if there was an apology came my way, there was a mishap or whatever, yeah, I think things could have been different. But once I landed back in Ireland, the damage was done. I couldn't go back into work with a manager who probably felt that about me. So, as I said, the damage was done. Yet, strange enough, no one ever made these accusations against me when I was playing and we were winning matches and we were qualifying. So I found the timing really strange, particularly in front of the staff and the group of players. So as I've mentioned earlier about the bibs and the balls and the cones that weren't there, that was all, believe it or not, that was all taken care of. That settled down. And by the end of the week, we were kind of laughing and joking about that anyway. As you do, you have to move on, I get that. But to be accused of missing a game because of an injury that I was accused of not having, believe it or not, I actually let people off lightly. There could have been a lot more trouble, shall we say.
Let me just ask you 2 more on that, because I'm not intending to forensically cross-examine you on this.
It feels like you should have been a QC.
Why do you think the accusation, you as captain, why do you think the accusation was made when you're at a World Cup and you're Ireland's best player? That doesn't quite compute with me. It doesn't
to me. You'd have to ask Mick and see what he says.
Yeah. And going back to what I was saying about when you played in 1994 and what it meant to your family, you'll say you're slightly in the zone, but I know what it means to them. So it's the same question about them. You said you have never lost a wink of sleep over it, but you would have been very aware. For them, it must have been really hard, for your parents and your brothers and your family.
Without a shadow of a doubt, for my family, and mostly for my parents, it was a stressful time for them. Without a shadow of a doubt. No, people say, well, you brought it on yourself. I didn't bring it on myself. This stuff was thrown at me. And yeah, they suffered for it. Now I could deal with it because I'm thinking, well, I knew what happened, and I'd probably try and put myself in my parents' shoes. No, I've got children, and if I thought they were going off to a sporting event that they'd obviously dreamed of being involved in, and they'd made all these plans, and obviously my family would travel, and one of my children ended up getting, I'd be worried and stressed for them. So I understand where my family were coming from, my parents, but at no stage did my family or my parents ever said to me, listen, are you sure? They trusted me to do what I felt was right for myself. So no pressure from that, but I just know there was stress from, again, the usual stuff, the lies that were coming out about me, the accusations that weren't true, and they certainly were stressed from it without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah. Okay, listen.